It's time for Where You Live with Gene and Tony, the show that's all about owning, buying, selling, renting, and association management. If it involves a home, we'll talk about it. Here's your chance to get your homeowner questions answered. From the Concierge Landscape Studios, here's Gene and Tony.
Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. Needed someone to understand my ups and downs, and there you were.
Good morning and welcome once again to Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan.
I'm Tony Crockett.
Good morning, Tony.
Hi, Gene.
And here are the stories and the news items that we're tracking for you this Sunday, May 22nd. Our first story is going to be about a homeowner association in Arizona that's kicking a woman out of her home, and she's dying from cancer. We'll see if there is maybe another side of that story. We're also going to take a look at the uncertain future of trying to buy a condominium or townhome. I think a lot of folks know that over the last few years, there have been major changes with FHA financing. There continues to be tweaking by Congress and trying to get things going. We're going to be talking with an expert trying to find out are things on the horizon looking better, or is it just kind of the same? And we're also going to take a look at the state of Nevada. Yes, once again, they have, I think, outdone themselves, Tony, with an HO bill that really goes too far in micromanaging homeowner associations. Unbelievable. Folks, you got to listen to this. But let's begin with property management in the news. And today we're going to begin with a news clip that's from CBS Channel 5 News in Florence, Arizona. And this is live streaming on kpho.com. Bill?
I've never broken a bone or anything, but it feels like my whole body is like broken. It hurts so bad.
Carolyn Sylvia doesn't know how much time she has left, so she moved to Arizona from Oregon to be close to her mother, who was living in this retirement community in Florence. But her battle with breast and bone cancer was just the beginning.
It's cruel, it's mean, it's inhumane. Why are they using us to single out?
The Florence Gardens Mobile Home Association is trying to evict Carolyn and her husband because they don't meet the minimum age requirement. It's a 55 and older community. Carolyn is 51, her husband 53.
Where am I supposed to go? I have cancer. Where am I supposed to go? This is my home.
According to this letter written by the HOA's attorney, Ms. Hayes asked to be permitted to violate the age-restrictive covenants. The HOA board turned down the request, claiming the association has always been aggressive in enforcing age verification. That's not what CBS 5 News found. These court records show Connie Bajorquez moved into the Florence Gardens community when she was 52, insisting my age was never an issue. Chuck Thomas is another underage resident. He's currently 53.
I know there's more out there, and I know that the HOA knew about it. They've all told me straight up. I gave my ID, no question I was underage, and they said, don't worry about it. It's okay.
But Carolyn's HOA nightmare doesn't end there. For weeks, the family claims they were subjected to harassment from HOA board president Bob Sorchik, seen here taking pictures from his car of Carolyn's house.
To me, it feels like high school. It feels like they have this power and they have nothing else better to do because everybody's gone, so they just want to pick on the person that has the cancer.
According to this minute entry from an October HOA meeting, there were implications that Carolyn may be faking her illness. Most of you who have dealt with cancer know that you don't go through chemo or radiation for a year. For some reason, chemotherapy is still going on today. In addition, the HOA board revoked all community privileges from Carolyn, her husband, and mother, even though they continue to pay their HOA dues. If they show up at the clubhouse, pool, shuffleboard, or any Florence Gardens amenity, they are trespassers.
We made countless attempts to talk to the HOA board president, the former board president, and the HOA's attorney, but no one ever answered the door or called us back. Hello, is anyone home? This is CBS 5 News.
After a dozen calls to the HOA's attorney, we finally heard back. Attorney Charles Maxwell said the association has done everything to accommodate them. They have only an interest in trying to make money. The case is now headed to court.
I don't make any noise or anything. I just want to live here. I want to die here. I just want to be quiet. I want to live next to my mom. If they want to kick me out, then I hope they sleep well at night.
Jason Berry, CBS 5 News.
And that is the news article coming from Florence, Arizona.
That is a horrible story. Is this the Simon Legree Homeowners Association of Florence, Arizona?
It certainly sounds that way, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I'll give. First, let me begin by saying that it had to have someone who's dying of cancer. That we are so sorry to hear about that, and for this woman to want to move her family closer to where her parents live. Mm-hmm. For the last few years, understandable. Yep. You bet it is.
Yep.
But there is, once again, with the news media, taking those facts and those things that are true and then pushing things to a limit that I think go beyond responsibility.
Absolutely. They report it in a way that makes it a, evil versus good situation. Mm-hmm. And we all, as adults, know that it is any situation, any controversy, any confrontation is rarely evil versus good, good versus evil. There's always some kind of mixture. And the news media, I think, has the responsibility of reporting all facts of the story, and they do not. And they certainly did not report all the facts in this story.
I agree. They certainly do have that responsibility, and they didn't do it here. They have the way this was portrayed through the CBS Channel 5 News was a claim of the association abusing power.
That's right.
And kicking them out of their home when she has cancer. How inhumane.
And even farther than that, the woman with cancer, her name is Carolyn, says they're picking on her because she has cancer. She said they just want to pick on the person that has cancer. That's an extremely inflammatory remark. And I do not believe that a community that's made up of 55 and older residents discriminates against people with cancer. Do you? I bet cancer has come up in that community before.
I would venture to say that is
and I'm
true,
sorry, but it makes her sound completely incredible, unbelievable, because she makes crazy comments. But
what is happening here, of course, is the news article and the Sylvia's attorney are trying to demonstrate that the Homeowners Association is totally arbitrary, inconsistent, cruel in their doing. But let's take a look at some of the facts. And, some of the facts that I know that the Sylvias knew and the people that reported from CBS Channel 5 News knew. But they failed to report on.
That's right.
They made mention of a couple of key pieces, but then they failed to share things that would put this in a much different perspective.
That's right.
And that is, we have minutes from the Florence Gardens Mobile Home Association back over a year ago when there was the request to have the Sylvias move in.
The mother, Joan Hayes, made a request to the board for a variance to the age rule, so that her daughter and son-in-law could move in next door, and the daughter and son-in-law were both under age 55.
Yeah.
So she requested, and that's the correct first step to take, right? You make a request to your board.
Yes, and in this case, we should even take another step back, even for our listeners, too. There are indeed age-restrictive communities that are allowed by law.
That's right.
The Fair Housing Act back in 1995 did agree to allow a special designation for 55 and older communities.
And I must say, they have to have been designed and initiated or go through a legal process to become a 55 or older community. I just want to say that because I know a lot of boards say, okay, we want to be a 55 or older community now, so let's just pass that rule.
Yes.
It takes some legal steps to do that.
That's right. And so here, the Sylvias knew that they would not be allowed to just purchase and move in. That's why the request was being made to
That's
the board.
why the mom made the request.
They were asking for an exception.
That's right.
And that's fine to ask for an exception.
That's right.
The board, in the board meeting back on February 24th, 2010, said that they were not going to grant it because they were both under the age of 55.
Right.
And they started to then quote some of the obligations that they have under this Fair Housing Act. They referred to it as HOPA, and that, for our listeners, stands for the Housing for Older Persons Act. And this goes back to 1995, and there's a couple things that it states. Number one, it states that folks need to be 55 and older, but they have what's called a threshold test.
Okay.
And that is that at least a minimum of 80% of the folks who are living there must be 55 or older. 20% can indeed be under 55. And so you think, well, boy, if 20% can be under 55, wouldn't the Sylvias be allowed?
But if they hadn't met that criteria yet.
But they have another distinction about that.
This is in HOPA, in the Fair Housing Act.
That's right.
There's another distinction.
There is, and we'll go over that in another moment, but we're going to first take a break. We're talking about a homeowners association in Arizona. Are they being cruel in telling a person who's dying of cancer that they can't live there because they're not 55? We'll go more on this story after these messages.